Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. First, I want to say thank you for 1,000 subscribers. So it is August 8th, and I got that around 6:30 p.m. So watch as the channel grows. Let's build a community of healing together. But this is a viewer topic request. How do I fight false personal protection order? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, then we'll get into how to fight it because it can be quite damaging to your life if it's a false personal protection order. If you need to get one to protect yourself, we'll talk about that in a minute. But my ex is a state cop. He's trying to build up a custody case against me. So he's filing police report after police report. None of them involved drugs, violence, alcohol. And like some more, even I'm trying to give him like a full summer supply for things he can keep at the house for our daughter. And I get a protection order against, a police report. So he built up these cases. They just took his word. He fills out a police report. Some of them were written by his buddies. Some of them just had that blue code going on, how cops sometimes do that. But it can damage your life. So I did call. I'll take accountability. I called way too many times. Some was just to talk about our daughter. Some I had court orders to notify him on, and some was a broken heart. But anyways, it can affect your life. My degree was in criminal justice, so I couldn't carry a weapon. And that's what my, whether it's police officer, probation officer, I wasn't able to carry. So it's kind of screwed up my livelihood. Also, I don't drink. I kind of have a little bit of wine now, but I did not drink at all. So I couldn't even go to a bar or Applebee's, a restaurant that served alcohol. So being single, you can't even go to, I really don't eat out that much, but like an Applebee's or what was it, Pizza Hut? I think Pizza Hut served beer, or that might have been when we were in Canada or whatever. But I couldn't go to restaurants for the most part that served alcohol. So it affected my career, affected, like a normal date life or just a normal social life to go dancing with your buddy girl, regular female friends. So it affected my life. I didn't fight it because I'm already spending $190,000 in court. And like I said, I don't really drink. I was working all the time. I worked weekends, so I did, but it also affects where you can work. You can't waitress at a bar. You can't waitress at an Applebee's when you have these personal protection orders because it's put in place. It's part of the constraints, and it was frustrating because I didn't even want to drink. I was never even tempted to. There's no violence, and it's all just based on his words. So it was damaging to my life. So as far as this viewer, how do I prove he's lying? And that's the other thing too. Like I've mentioned that I'm also a rape victim. And I know a lot of times it's that he said, she said stuff. And how do you prove things? And it gets frustrating. So you do need to fight it in court if you want to get out of it. If you were in my situation, I created a new job. And but if I really needed to waitress at a bar, or if I really needed to do this or whatever, sometimes you have to fight it. So first, it's important to know how these protective orders work because they're put in place to safeguard a victim of abuse. And a lot of times they'll play a victim that they're not. My ex, like I said, was a state cop, knew pressure points, could bench, I believe, like 550 pounds. He was much bigger than me, super strong, carried a weapon, and he was a no. I never even really bitch fest argued with him. I'm not a violent person. But there are some consequences if somebody falsifies information to get one, but a protective order. So what happens is someone, sometimes it's also called a protective order or protection order, depends on where you are. And it's technically different from a restraining order. A protective order is something issued by the court And this is used to protect whether it's a person, an establishment, business, or even just the general public from a situation. Sometimes you have to stay away from schools by so many yards or feet because they're just trying to avoid any situation that might involve abuse, harassment, stalking, sexual assault. And as far as harassment, I called too many times, so maybe it would have been seen as legit. I don't know, but I don't know this person's story, so we're gonna help them out. So this restraining order dictates what a person within this lawsuit can or cannot do. And it can protect property in the event that someone's sued someone. They're afraid that maybe there'll be some retaliatory harm. Some states, they'll even put in place a domestic violence restraining order. Just the same as like a protective order. Now, there can also be an emergency protection order. And in many states, when there's a domestic abuse situation that has taken place, the abuser is often told to leave the area where the person that was victimized works or resides. They're told to leave the premise. The police then give the victim an emergency protection order. So that's given by the police. It's short term, and it's usually in effect for about a week. And this allows some time for the victim to request a more permanent protective order. And this is what the other person against my viewer has done is sometimes you can go down to the courthouse and file for one, or if you had the police called in. So mine, I believe, did it by going to the courthouse. I think it's $10. I live in Michigan, and I don't know about the different court systems. So it's probably pretty cheap to get one if you need one against abuser, but it can also be abused because it is pretty cheap. All you got to do is say something, and then this person has to fight it. And that's what my first narc did, is ate up my money. He wanted to destroy my money. So he would file police report after police report, take me to court all the time to eat up my money. He didn't even care if he won or lost. It was just to eat up my money because it's the state versus me. So he can file whatever he wants, and I got to pay an attorney. So he could just file and file and file. And I'm nonviolent, never been in a fight in my life. I didn't even really ever physically fight with my siblings. Sometimes we did, but it was so minimal. So I'm not violent. But I have 59 police reports against me. I'm pretty much on the up and up. Don't do drugs, don't sleep around, don't get drunk. And I got 59 police reports against me. And it's just to eat up my money. That's what narcissists will do, is they'll retaliate. If you injure them, he called off the wedding, wanted to postpone it, and I moved out. So he got pissed that I moved out, and came back at me so hard. So, and he's the one playing the victim. Narcissists love to play the victim too. And so anyways, with this emergency protective order, you get it for about a week, and then they'll file. So we're going to talk about how to get out of this if it was falsified. But I want you guys to understand the longer term one. I believe they can be for 6 months. This one, in rare cases, it can be valid for several years. So I believe mine was 6 months, but he would do that to control my life. Like I said, you can't really, you can date. I mean, you don't have to drink, but I'm talking just going out to Applebee's, and then having to, talk about your screwed up relationship because you're being abused. And so let's say I did go on a brand new date. The new date's going to be like, you have what? How many police reports against you? And so I don't know the right word. It's not subliminally, but my ex would kind of sneak in and destroy a possibility of a new relationship, or make a new relationship harder, because he's trying to make me look like a piece of crap. It's all calculated on what they're doing. So the victim can ask the court to renew a protection order after it has expired. So this person feels that they didn't victimize anybody. and they have this protection order restraining what they can do in life. And, they can go on for years sometimes. So how do you fight it? So every now and then there's an alleged victim might accuse someone of abuse, stalking, whether it's sexual harassment, some tort that was against them, but nothing really occurred. So there are different reasons why people do it. The accuser might want to get back at a significant other, possibly for cheating. The other might want to just gain control or an upper hand in a family law or custody case, which is exactly what mine did. And I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, viewer, if you're watching this, is this something to do with custody or possibly divorce? But a lot of times, if you guys are going to go through a custody battle, be cautious. They're just trying to paint a picture where you're this bad person, and sometimes you're not. So whatever the reason, there's this false accusation, and there's several consequences for the alleged abuser where they could potentially go to jail. They could lose a job, custody of the child, a damaged reputation. So I couldn't really apply for criminal justice jobs. You risk going to jail. If I went out to, I don't know, some family restaurant and I didn't check to know that they had alcohol, I could go to jail over that if you violate a protection order. I didn't fight mine. I felt it was wrong, but I was tired of, I was in court so much. But you need to seek some immediate legal representation in order to fight this false protection order. You should employ an attorney. They can help protect your rights by presenting defense against the allegations. That's why it's really important to really keep a journal of things, when they called. You can subpoena phone records. Nowadays, computer stuff, sometimes it's hard to get certain things subpoenaed too, but there is ways you can get information. Like I said, we could get phone records. There's stuff you can track, save your text messages. Always make sure that you show up to court on time, be presentable, well prepared, be as professional as you can. It's weird how the mind works. It's sad, but image affects things. That's why you'll see like a lot of court cases where they try to look a little more humble. Like they even tell you, what kind of, don't wear bright red lipstick, and that's what's so sad about society, is like, you can't just show up, whether you're a farmer or a garbage collector. You show up looking a little rough because you've been working. That's not seen as admirable. And hardworking people should be admired. But it's all image. Kim Kardashian shows up and she'd probably get her way if she dressed somewhat appropriate. But anyways, during the hearing, viewer, you and your attorney, you can collect all the information that you have, challenge these accusations that were made against you. And there's going to be a question seeking thing, to where you can ask questions of witnesses. Somebody, I'm lost for words. I've been having a really bad day today. So I go through these struggles just like you. It's kind of an emotional day for me today. It just comes in spurts, but a lot of celebratory things too. So you take the good with the bad. So you can represent yourself, but make sure you know what you're doing, because you can represent yourself, but the law is very succinct and goes in certain orders, and you have to know what you're doing. Case law, you can look up case law, which is like previous court cases, but make sure that it's the most recent. And there's thousands upon thousands of cases that go on every day, and it can be overwhelming. You might want to have your attorney who has access to LexisNexis and legal help, researchers, because you have to know that you ask the questions in accordance with the court rules. And with all the objections that go on, and you need to know if it's overruled or sustained. I mean, you have to know all the different terminologies. So definitely do your homework, collect documentation that will help your lawyer disprove this alleged victim's claims in the protection order. Ask witnesses to support your good character in court. So you're going to have some people testify that this is out of your character and why they believe that these are false accusations. It's also good if you have a clean record. Convey to the court that you don't want it smeared by false accusations. That's why it's really good to try to live the right kind of life, because any little black mark, once you're in that system, you're in that system, and it changes the way that they treat you. And sometimes this is the hard part, is it comes down to your word against your accusers. So you got to show this court that you're credible, show as much, be as well educated on your topic. Doesn't mean you have to be a doctor or a physicist, but well educated on what you're talking about, and show your confidence. And you might be nervous going to court, but sometimes that can be mistaken of that you're lying if you seem too nervous. So it's also good to have an attorney, because I had done a video where there was this one waitress where I worked was missing money, and she thought that I took it. And her and I were like kind of cool. And I was kind of like, what? So I'm like, no, I didn't do it. And I was this. And she's like, oh, well, you're defending yourself so much. And I'm like, well, no, but I would not do that. And yeah, you're talking too much about it. Why do you feel you have to defend yourself? And I legit did not take it. So sometimes we think we're doing things the right way, but the attorney knows the different judges. They know how they're going to interpret. Just like that one waitress, she didn't believe me, even though I was telling the truth. So sometimes when we think I can handle this case on my own, we might say it in certain ways that's going to trigger the judge, like, you're lying, you're too nervous, or whatever. You chose certain words, because I'll say, to be honest, let's say, to be honest, I didn't take that. And this is not in this case, but I'm going to use this case. So if I had said, to be honest, I didn't take it, a lot of times people will take that as a lie, because you said, to be honest. Well, if you're being honest, why do you have to say that? But in my mind, it would be, I'm uncomfortable saying this, but I'm telling the truth. So I'm not a thief, but if I was a thief and she was my girl, and I wanted her to know, no, I didn't, and I'm telling you the truth, I would say, to be honest. Because if I was a thief, which I'm not, I'd be uncomfortable and I'd want her to know I'd like to lie right now. But certain word patterns aren't always interpreted the right way. So the lawyer knows how to convey things. So if you do have this court order, it is a court order, your restraining order, personal protection order, you got to obey it. You have to obey that order. If you have to stay a certain amount of feet away, you have to do that. If you're not allowed to go to certain places, you must obey that order, or you can go to jail. Sometimes there's fines, but you can go to jail over this stuff. And that's, the narcissist or the abuser winning. It's all about control. Just like mine didn't care. It was all to get what he wanted, whether it was to win the custody battle, to control me, to destroy, kind of one of those, if I can't have her, you can't. But definitely follow it, even if it seems unfair. That's the thing that's so screwed up about the court systems. I've told you guys before, I went to law school, and I did juvenile probation, also was taught criminal law, but I lost faith in the court systems. They can be kind of screwy sometimes, and different counties are worse than others. There are some good judges out there, definitely some good attorneys, some shady ones. I don't know. That's why I decided to do other things. But this is the thing. If you are unable to successfully fight this false protective order, unfortunately, you still have to comply with all these provisions stated in the order until the time has lapsed or expired. Any violation of a protective order can and probably will result in criminal charges. So just be really cautious on that. You don't want to get yourself in trouble. If you are being abused and you need one, you can contact your police department. They might be able to help. Also the court house, possibly city hall, depending on where you live. But the courthouse will be able to help you file a police report, or I'm sorry, a personal protection order. But if it was falsified against you, a lot of times you got to take an attorney. So you got to decide if it's worth it. My reputation is really important to me, but at that point, my daughter was what was the most important, and I was going through so much expense and all these custody orders, and how my ex would put all these police reports against me, and I had to pay for so many attorneys that I'm like, I'll just let that go. I don't need to go to a bar. I don't need to carry a weapon. The time will lapse. They can reinstate it. They can reinstate it. Have as much documentation as you can. A retaliatory things, because my ex did this once too, is he kind of trapped me sometimes. So I'm trying to be good and not call him too much, because I was brokenhearted. We do stupid things. And this is a sad thing too, is I was in the wrong, because I was, in my eyes, fighting for my family, because I loved him. But there was nothing wrong with him destroying my life. We were supposed to get married. I put all this money down on a venue and reception and dress and invitations, and he can just change his mind. But I can't call and say, but I love you and it's our family. So, but it was toxic. So, and that's the thing I've mentioned with you guys, is it doesn't always surface till later. How toxic was it when we were together? Somewhat. I was kind of lonely. There were some things, but that's the thing with the narcissist, is it gets worse. But if you hurt them, like, he didn't expect me to move out. If you hurt them, all hell can break loose. And with domestic violence, know who your narcissist is, because when people leave during a breakup, that can be the most dangerous time. So know who your narcissist is, how abusive they are, how they treat other people. Had they gotten into a lot of bar fights? Had they gotten into physical fights at family reunions? Things like that. Because once they're angry at you, they're going to treat you the same as they treat perfect strangers or drunk Uncle Joey or whatever. But I hope that helps. Topic requests are always welcome. Thank you again for the 1,000 subscribers. Let's keep growing this channel, build a community here where we help validate and heal. Knowledge really does help you heal. So thank you for the request. See you soon.